Welcome to Valerie's Real Talk podcast. My name is Valerie Smith and I'm your host. Today is episode 59 and I'm going to speak to you about creative leadership mindset. We as people, we have to understand that creativity is everything. And as a leader, we have to understand the essence of being creative and being that leader. And what are some different aspects around creative leadership? That's adaptability, change, emotional intelligence, innovation. Yes, innovation and teamwork. We have to be collaborative in the workplace, even in our own personal lives. When we are leaders, we have to show an example. What does that mean? You are always doing research. You're finding out what new things are happening in our world today. How can we stay engaged, innovative, adaptable, and easy to understand what change is? We should not make change so hard. Change is not hard. It's all about what that change is and how are we going to change with the times. And that is being creative. We don't want to be stuck. That's one thing I could say. We don't want to be stuck. We want to use our intellect to make sure that we're learning, that we're growing, and that we are very much aware, not only in your own nation, but worldwide, what is happening in our world. I remember in 2010, I had read some documents from the UK about the creative economy, how all these different industries, different clusters, what's going to be happening in the job market, what skill sets need to be set in place to train their workforce. This is why leaders have to be creative. We cannot be so rigid in our leadership that we don't understand that we have to think outside the box. We have to learn from each other. When chaos is happening, that's when we create. When chaos is happening, that's when we work more together. What is happening in our world today is that we're too rigid. We need to let go of yesterday. What was working yesterday is not working today. What that means is that you have to put on your thinking caps and you have to start reading. You need to get into your teams, be a little bit on the agile side. Have micro meetings. Learn from each other. What ideas are you generating? That's where emotional intelligence come in, because we have to make sure that when you are a creative leader that you give your team the floor. Make sure there is room, that everyone has a voice at the table. The most important thing as a creative leader is that you're thinking outside the box, you're including your team, which is collective, and then we have to be innovative and adaptable. We have to understand that change is here. What can we do to create the product and the services? What do your customers need? What do your employees need? What does the company need? These are the things that you have to think about. We don't want to continue doing the same thing and become stale and it's not working, and then your company left behind. We're in the 21st century. It's 2024. 6 years from now, it will be 2030. And you have to ask yourself, where do you see yourself as a leader? Where do you see your company going in 6 years? The time is moving fast, and we have to be ready. Marketable ready, skills ready, company ready. The thing that a corporation or organization don't want to see the repeat again is quiet quitting. That's why you have to be creative as a leader. You have to be aware. And how can you make it fun again in the workplace? How can you make it where your employees or your direct reports feel a sense of belonging? Are you setting up systems to make work fun, to make work more streamlined, which is process improvements? That's where creativity comes in at. When you think of process improvements, it's connecting the dots. What systems are working and which ones are outdated? And if they're outdated, it's time to move forward with some new tools for your workplace. Because again, no one's waiting for you. If you're not up to date and you're not up to speed on global standards in the workplace as a leader, and you're not creative because you're leaning on technology to do it for you, don't do that. Now, I'm not knocking technology. Technology is wonderful. It's wonderful when you want to test out your ideas or get some ideas about a certain topic or get an understanding about a topic. But however, we have to be thinking with our own brain. I did a mind mapping workshop for my Toastmasters Club. And the one thing that I would say is that sometimes it's difficult for us to use our own mind because we rely on technology to give us the answer. And the mind mapping exercise that I gave to the team members, some found it exciting, some found it very difficult because they were so used to going online to get the answer. When we're talking about creative leadership, this is from within. You have to find your creative niche. You have to find what you're good at. And if there's a weakness and you have somebody on your team, that's where teamwork comes in. Utilize your team. Get creative together. Make sure that you're brainstorming on ideas that can work within your team, within your department, within your organization. It's time to go back to where we were creative as employees, as workers, as teams. We never want to lose that. That's what it means to be a creative leader. We don't want to be left behind. Remember, it's all about creativity. It's all about adaptability, understanding the changes that are coming so you can get your teams equipped with the skill sets that they need, and to understand emotional intelligence. We can't be that same manager yesterday. We have to have an ear to listen and understand. That is a very important communications attribute to have. Is when you're a creative leader who have an ear to hear. Your homework today, if you've never heard of creative leadership, I want you to look it up. I want you to have understanding about it. Listen to the actual episode again. However, I want you to do your research. What are some strengths that you have that you can bring into your leadership to be creative? To make sure that you're incorporating creative leadership into your teams. Therefore, your teams, they can feel a sense of creativity and adapt to change, to be part of innovation, to be that person of emotional intelligence, to have that ear to hear when other people are speaking in the meeting. And then also, as a creative leader, it's very important that innovation is here to stay. We always need to be creating amongst each other, as well as the technology that we have available. But we have to remember that we have to make that step to being creative again. I'll say it again. We have to make that step to be creative again. I want you to look at your strengths. I want you to write it down. What are the creative things that you have after you've done your research? And how can you incorporate that in your leadership with your team? I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you next week for episode 60.